All right, Sean. So whenever you're ready, hit it.
All right. All right. So next we'll be moving into um, a principle we talked about called the emotional tank. Um, this is, if used correctly, this is a principle that you can see profound effects on your athletes, but also the inverse works. If you use it negatively, you will also see profound effects in ways that you don't want to happen. So a good way to model this concept is the use of a gas tank. Hey, Dan, would you mind muting yourself because it keeps picking you up and then the slides pop away?
There you
Thank
go.
you. Okay, there we go. A good way to model this principle is through the use of a gas tank. So if you take a look at the slides, we obviously one gas tank is empty, one gas tank is full, and the question comes up: which gas tank would you rather have? Which one would you rather be driving?
Full.
There you go, exactly, full. Now you have to ask yourself though. Obviously, you want to use the full tank. But the question then is, why do you want the full tank? Obviously, you have more gas, but what are some other reasons? What are some other things that happen when you have a full tank? Things that you can do.
I'm not stressed out that my car's going to run out of gas
There you
before I
go.
get there.
Perfect example. A point that we're going to hit on this slide is you're able to go further with a full tank, whereas you're not able to go anywhere with an empty tank. If you wouldn't mind clicking. Oh, I forgot the Y part.
Yep.
Now I'd like to take this concept and think of it as not gas, but think of the gas in the tank as positive or negative emotions. Negative emotions will take you towards empty. Positive emotions will take you towards full. So I want you to ask yourself, what are some things that happen when you have positive emotions into you or negative emotions into you? And I always like ending on a positive, so we'll start with the negative. What are some things you may see? Well, let me back up a step. I want you to channel of all the kids that you've coached in your career, I want you to channel, it doesn't have to be the most negative, but I want you to channel an athlete that you knew to be negative, usually is not happy to be there, might have not finished out the whole season, but I want you to channel one of the more negative athletes you've ever coached. And then I also want you to channel the most vibrant, the best leader, the most happy athlete that you believe you've ever coached. Picture them both in your mind. And now first I want you to think, with the negative, what are some characteristics you've seen with that negative athlete?
She just had a bad attitude when I would ask her to do anything, even if it was like do a warm-up lap or, get ready for a drill. It was always like, ugh, like huffing and puffing and not very open to to get what I wanted her to do.
Would you agree there was always a bit of a negative cloud over everything that she was doing?
Absolutely.
Whether the outcome was what she wanted or not. All right,
Yeah.
So now let me ask you, how was it on the other end of the spectrum when you had an athlete that was filled with positive emotions, positive energies?
Dan, you're welcome to answer too if you want to just unmute. I don't have to give all the answers.
I muted up. I got the cuff on.
There you go.
Yeah, they run around. They hustle. They do the extra things. They give energy to everybody else.
There you go. Great points right there. Very, very good points. This is a little bit off the cuff me talking, but when you have someone who's filled with positive emotion and negative, that energy seems to irradiate through the rest of the group. And someone who's fully positive and always running around and happy to be there, it spreads to other athletes, which makes it another benefit to have. But Kelly, if you wouldn't mind clicking to bring up some points
Sure.
that we would like to hit on. So first, again, we'll end on a positive, so I'll start with the negative. If you take a look at some of the words we have, pessimistic is one characteristic of athletes filled with negative emotion. They give up more easily, and they're less coachable. So I know those are bullet points, and everyone can read the bullet points, but I'm going to give you an example of what may happen if an athlete was in this state and you wanted to get them in the game for a situation that they may have to make a difference. So you have little Billy sitting on the bench, filled with negative emotion. And he's sitting there thinking to himself, before you even get to him, he's already pessimistic. So he's thinking to himself, I'm not in the game. I'm sitting here on the bench. If I get put in the game, I'm not going to make a play. I'm going to mess up and get myself right back to this spot. But you have that little bit of hope inside of you, and you want to give every player a chance. So you say, hey, Billy, it's your opportunity to shine. It's your chance to get into the game. And so he gets out there, and he's already thinking pessimistically, and everyone knows whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're attracting to yourself is exactly what's going to happen to you. So he's pessimistic, and he's thinking, I'm going to drop the ball, or I'm going to miss the puck, or whatever sport it is that you're playing. And then he does. Let's say you're playing basketball, and he gets the pass, it goes right through his hands, and it goes out of bounds. He attracted that through his pessimism to begin with, and now you want him to bounce back from a mistake, something that we just mentioned. But he's going to give up. He's going to give up completely. Let's say he's filled with negative emotion. He's going to give up on the first moment anything goes wrong. So the pass goes right through his hands, and he's done. He's absolutely fried from there. You will not get a positive play out of him the rest of the game. And then you take him out because it's hurting the team, obviously, and you go up to him and you say, hey, Billy, the pass went right through your hands. You can catch it the next time. It's going to sound like you're speaking Spanish to him. He's not going to hear a single word that you're saying. He is so lost in his pessimism. He's so lost in the negativity that's filled in his body that you could say the greatest thing in the world to him and it wouldn't make any sort of a difference. Again, this is an athlete that's filled with negative emotion, something that we don't want to happen. Let's take the other side now. With positive emotion, obviously it's going to be the opposite. So optimistic athletes, they deal with adversity, they embrace the adversity, and they make changes, and they're more coachable. So now let's say Stevie's sitting next to Billy. He's sitting there rather than thinking, hey, I'm going to get in and I'm going to mess up. He's thinking, I'm going to get in and I'm going to make the best of my opportunity and I'm going to try as hard as I can and I'm going to make the play every single time. He gets in the game. Same thing happens to him, let's say. He's running. He's so excited to make the play that someone gives him a pass that goes right through his hands. Now, he's optimistic. He's not pessimistic. He says, okay, I got it next time. He gets that adversity of, I just messed up. Am I going to keep messing up or am I going to change things? And he takes that adversity and he embraces it and he says, I'm going to do much better the next time. I'm going to give a better effort. I'm going to have better focus and I'm going to catch that ball the next time. And let's say I call a timeout. He comes right over and I believe I said his name was Stevie. I say, Stevie, hey, just look the ball into your hands. Grip it a little harder the next time. You'll catch it. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to say, you're right. And he's going to take that in, and he might not say I'm right, but he's going to take it in and he's going to embrace that coaching. And now he's going to go back out there again, filled with optimism. He's going to be able to handle that adversity he just got, having that pass go through his hands, and he's going to listen to what I was saying to him, and he's going to embrace that and follow through, correctly catch the ball the next time, and then who knows what happens from there, depending on the situations of the game and everything. But that's just a little scenario I like to paint the picture of. A pass going through someone's hands is a little part of the game, but it has this emotional tank has such a profound impact on everything that they do that it could be something as little as catching a pass to hitting the game-winning shot to calling the right play, anything throughout the spectrum of what these kids are asked to do throughout sports. Go ahead and click, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important to know, obviously, after hearing that explanation, you want an athlete filled with positive energy. And realistically, if the world was perfect, which every coach knows, is familiar with the term Murphy's Law, in that the world is not perfect, you will get athletes that are anywhere from completely empty to halfway full to completely full in their emotional tank throughout the day. So we as coaches have to understand what can we do to get them more to that full, to that filled with positive energy state that we need them to be in, so they're optimistic, so they deal with adversity, so they listen to the coaching that we're giving them. Dan, it's picking up your sound again, and I've lost the points. I was going to try to go off the cuff, but thank you. I'm sorry to keep telling you to do that. So as important as it is to fill the tank, if we're constantly filling the tank, we're trying to attempt to fill the tank, but we don't know what drains the tank, we may be putting in more negative than positive, even when our goal is to put in positive. So again, we'll end on a positive, and I'll bring up first the aspects that may drain a tank that we have to be aware of, because if those are sprinkled in with our positives, things that are negative to the tank, then all our work is going to waste. So things that drain the tank. I'll name a few, and then I'll go back and rehash them. Criticism and correction, sarcasm, and ignoring. I'm going to save the nonverbals. I'll save that for last, once I explain positive as well. So criticism and correction, what does that mean? Tell an athlete, do this, do that, run harder. There's nothing specific about it, and there's no positivity to what you're saying. No one likes to be told. No one likes to be told, whether it's a kid, whether it's an adult. And so if I was to say, hey, Billy, run to that line, he's going to do it a little bit lethargically, and he may, again, it's going to have a negative impact on the way he feels, because he's having me be an authoritative teller rather than a friendly coach who's leading him along the way. Second one, sarcasm. This one is absolutely huge. So everyone understands that every person in this room, every person you coach has a different perspective on life. Being a youth coach, we have to understand we're adults and we have a much broader view of the world. We understand much more. If we use a sarcastic comment is that already at 10?
That's 10. You can wrap it up, though. You don't have to
All right.
stop mid-sentence.
If you use a sarcastic comment that's sarcastic in your world, these kids may have absolutely no idea what you're saying. They will completely miss the sarcasm altogether, and they'll hear the words that you're saying rather than the emotion that you're trying to get out with your words. And in that case, let's say a kid didn't run hard, and I'll say, "Oh man, it really looked like you were giving an effort there," and it's completely sarcastic. I mean, one, he may think he's saying I did a good effort, so I'm going to run like that every time. But he's not going to catch that my meaning is different than my words. And you can take that concept and apply it in any words that you may say with a sarcastic tone. So, in my experience, sarcasm it has no place, especially dealing with young kids who may not understand your sarcasm whatsoever. And then lastly, ignoring. Here's a perfect example of ignoring. I'm sitting there coaching, and a kid comes up and he says, "Coach, what happens on this play?" And I immediately put my hand up and I say, "Stop. I'm watching this play." That kid will never ever come back and ask you for advice. At least in that season. I mean, he might come the next season. But what I did there was I just told that individual everything else that's going on over there is much more important than anything that's going on that you have to say. And that will just crush a kid. Because you got to think, if a young youth athlete, let's say a 12-year-old, is running over to a coach, he could be anywhere from 30 to 50 years old. He thinks there's something really special that he has to say to get that out to you. He wouldn't come to you with nothing because you're the coach. You're kind of up on the pedestal in his eyes. You're a very special person. You're the all-knowledgeable coach. He's got to have something important to say. And if he brings that important comment to you and you just say, nope, that he will not bring anything to you. He'll think everything he does is no longer special. He does not have anything important to say. And it will just absolutely crush his emotions. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want me
I'm
to?
actually going to stop you. Yep,
Okay. I'm
actually going to stop you. But just to let you know, so you would have this to go through and then the 5-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So you didn't have much more to go. But it does, I know this 10 minutes seems short, but I like to give you guys only 10 minutes the first time you go through this just to see how time does go faster than you think it does.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't have people go 20 minutes for the first time out, because I want you to just really see how 10 minutes goes pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. But Sean, I think you know your stuff. I think you did a really great job. You definitely know the content. I really like your voice. You're very conversational, and I really like that. I felt like you were comfortable, talking. It wasn't like you were lecturing us. Mm-hmm. The one time you said, "I'm just going to go off the cuff here," and then you told a little story. Like, I like it when you go off the cuff. I'd rather you go off the cuff than off the PowerPoint, because that to me just seems much more personable. The story about Billy and Stevie is a lot more powerful to me than going through bullet points on a slide. I think the slides are here to support you, but your interaction with the audience and bringing things out of the audience is much more important and much more effective. So, I mean, just because I have a timer sitting here in front of me, you were asking questions to the audience until about 5 minutes in, and then the last 5 minutes was just lecture.
Yeah, so, I tried to get through.
No, it's okay. You know your stuff. You know it, and that's okay. But as an audience person, I pretty much checked out because you weren't asking me questions. You weren't having me think about my team. Even with this slide, when you're talking about criticism and correction, just ask the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an example of, when would you be correcting a student, criticizing? Correction is actually a big debate among coaches.
Yeah.
Is that tank draining? We've got to correct our players. So it's a good topic to debate. Sarcasm, I've had coaches say, I'm one of the most sarcastic people ever. It works really effectively for me. I've had them push back on that. So, I like to challenge the audience anytime I can. So don't be afraid anytime you can pull things out of the audience rather than just blah, 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 blah. Here's all the information.
I don't mean to give myself an excuse, but I had a few things sprinkled in, especially with these points that I was going to ask questions, but I knew I was already taking a long time at the beginning, so I was just trying to fire through.
Well, that's okay. I mean, this is for me to get a taste of, and you to get a taste of how you would be as an actual workshop presenter. I'm not as focused as you getting through every single slide as I am letting me see who Sean is going to be as a facilitator.
Okay.
That's really what this is all about. So even when you do your 20-minute demo, or even when you do your first part of a workshop as an associate trainer, we know that you're new and you're learning, and I know you know the content. I want to see what's Sean going to bring to a workshop. What's Sean going to bring to the table that will make you really change the attitude of an audience of coaches?
Yeah, okay.
So that's what I'm looking for. Dan, did you have any feedback that you'd like to give Sean? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry. You have to unmute yourself.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I was kind of the same. Once he kind of got on a roll there for a while, I sort of checked out a little bit. But I'm kind of ADD anyway, so if you're not keeping me locked in, I'm going to wander.
Yeah, I appreciate the advice.
I always say that to a lot of trainers. Assume that everyone in your audience is total ADHD. Because, I mean, they really, a lot of coaches are. Because a lot of coaches were athletes and a lot of athletes are. So assume that you're going to, you're going to lose their attention if you don't keep it interesting. But I thought, as I said, I thought you did a good job. I thought your stories were good. I always just to keep in your mind, ask, don't tell is always a little bit better. If you want to tell the audience something, ask them first.
Okay.
See what they can tell you. So, all right. Thanks, Dan, for your feedback.
Yep.
All right. Dan, do you want to see this, or are you okay? You look like you have a little setup over there.
I got my own, Kelly.
I'm impressed.
I got my own.
All right. I had one person one time actually shine a projector up on a screen behind them, and I was like, wow. Didn't expect that.
I do have a projector. I do have a projector.
I don't doubt you do. All right.
Yeah.
So, again, you can use Sean and I as your audience, whatever you'd like us to be. We will answer you accordingly.
All right, let me ask you a couple questions here. Now, Kelly, what age groups do you normally coach?
I've coached a lot. Right now, I'm coaching 3rd and 4th graders. But for years, I was a high school coach. I coached 1 year of college, and then I coached 5 years of high school.
Where'd you coach in college?
Arcadia University in Philadelphia. I coached basketball.
Yeah. Basketball. Yeah, men's, women's, what was it?
Women's basketball, Division III. And now I'm coaching youth lacrosse. The most recent coaching I've done is in youth lacrosse. Girls.
And Sean, how about you? What do you coach?
So I coach a little bit different dynamic. I do some strength and conditioning, so I have some adult clients, and then I also have a high school soccer team, and then some college athletes. So kind of all over the spectrum. Okay,
so are either of you married?
Yes.
No. And you have kids, Kelly, right?
I do. I have 4.
Okay. Oh, awesome. I got 4. I got 6 grandkids too. So.
No grandkids yet.
Okay. So, I'm going to take you through this format a little bit, kind of how I do it. And I want to make you a better spouse. I want to make you a better parent. I want to make you a better coach here. Okay. And that's always kind of my goal. And so I just have to show this as a little bit of an intro, and not that I've been coaching for over 30 years. I've coached professional. I'm coaching a 5-year-old girls basketball team right now. I've coached basketball, baseball, football, track, most notably football. I've seen it all. I'm going to Austria in 2 weeks to coach in Austria. I just went to Australia. I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to Dusseldorf. Like I said, I've coached women in track. I've coached little girls in softball, basketball. So I've kind of seen the full gamut of it here. So really what I want to do is kind of walk you through my version of this a little bit. And so I kind of cater this towards football. I'm actually doing a football presentation for a youth group here in town. And so typically, we're conditioned when something happens, something bad. So normally, and I'm treating you guys like adults, and like when I'm in the audience, I want people to treat me like an adult. I don't want them to ask me a question I already know the answer to. So that's kind of how I'm at here. But really, to me, it's trying to go, okay, what's the normal response to adversity, right? And that's it. So typically, normally when something bad happens, we all, if we're driving, we're slamming the dashboard, we're yelling at the other person, we all have those normal responses. All right. This is kind of a typical response. Now, if you'll notice, this guy right down here in the bottom, that's me. Okay, that's me doing the bad response. Okay, but the other thing is, those responses, if you notice something about them, what are most of those pictures there?
Most of them look like coaches frustrated or yelling at the players, or.
Yeah. And what are the ages of those players? And what are the ages of those coaches?
I'd say coaches
roughly.
probably 40 to 60, players about 18 to 22.
Right, exactly. Now, I do have one example of the youth coach there on the side. Here's the reason I point that out, okay? And I think this is really critical in what's going on in sports these days, okay? Number one, the older teachers are not good. They're not good models. And what's happening is youth, all this stuff that's filtered down, all the youth coaches think, well, that's what I see. That's what I do. That's what they do. So all the kids coaching the 5-year-old youth basketball like I am, they think they should be coaching like the adults. It's not. It's a totally, and I'm not saying that's correct either there. But it's interesting, if you go Google responses, you can find a gazillion in adult athletics in every realm. It's hard to find them in youth. Why? That's what our model is. Okay? So again, these players, we just had a great example, right? Cam Newton again. That's what we see. And it's interesting, like I would say this, Kelly, when your kids face adversity and they're disappointed, what typically do they do?
They get sad. I mean, my daughter came home from a swim meet yesterday, and she was down. She was really down.
Yeah, but typically their body language, right? Typically, like my little 5-year-old girls, when they make a mistake, they don't pout, they don't mope, they don't hang their head.
Oh, my daughter's 16. So at 16, she pouts. 5, no.
Yeah. But my point is, again, part of that is they learn that's the way that we handle it. That's what we do when bad things happen. That's sort of a learned visual. That's our model. That's the way we react. Okay? And so what we're talking about here is a mistake ritual. Now, I'm interested in you, Kelly. Like, what kind of mistake ritual do you use for your girls?
I use for my lacrosse team, we use shake it off. If they make a mistake somewhere, it's such a big field and they can't necessarily hear what I'm saying when they're way across, 50 yards down the field. So we do this, and it just means shake it off and move on to the next play.
Yeah. And Sean, you deal with the wide range of, and you're kind of in a little different will in strength and conditioning, but do you use anything like that?
I don't have a physical action such as shaking it off, which that's something I need to add. Mainly, I try to talk them through it and have them realize. I more talk the point rather than have them actually act it out. So I'll say something like, "Hey, your general, the next one's what matters. Think what you need to think of for the last one, but get your mind right now for how to do the next one more successfully, because that's the only one that you can control."
Yeah. I'm a big clapper. Like, I usually try to, when the stuff hits the fan, I just try to sort of condition myself to smile and clap. Okay? I just try to condition myself that. The other one I will use is this. Like, let's just go. Let's just go.
I like that.
All right? So part of my deal is it's like the more we dwell on the mistake, the more we make the mistake a big deal. I'm just like, let's just go. Let's go. It's on. It's on. Okay? So now this is also me, okay? This is me clapping. So this is a good picture. So part of the reason I show the other bad one about me and this good one, which I really believe this, we're all on a sliding continuum, and it's all about getting better, and it's all about trying to figure it out. And so we're never there. We're never really there. And I kind of try to use these own examples of myself.
That's not the timer. That was somebody.
Hello,
calling.
pizza place. But my point is, we're all on a sliding continuum, and you're never really there, and you always have to keep reinforcing your own behaviors because you'll slip. All right? So again, I used a couple examples here. We talk about the emotional tank being full and being empty. I got a picture of Jay Cutler again. I'm doing a football thing here. He's the worst body language guy in America. I mean, he's horrible. And he's a locker room killer. He's a sideline killer. He's a game killer. He's infectious in a bad way. Then you got J.J. Watt over there, right? I mean, this guy's an energizer bunny. This guy's body language. So, again, coaching body language because, again, a lot of times kids and coaches don't know what that is. Simple things like, and I'm sure you've done it, Kelly, with your kids. It took me forever to get my kids to look somebody in the eye. When they don't want to. But what does positive body language look like? And so we've coached that too. I've used examples with professional players and college players and going, okay, something really bad just happened. What do you look like?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, we're not happy, we're not gleeful, but again, I think this is part of when our emotional tank is low and when it's high. Okay, and so obviously, we're not going very far when it's low. We can do a lot of awesome things when it's high. I added a couple things here to this slide, which I really believe in. And, when you're low, and the things I added at the bottom, and I'm going to get into this a little bit about high anxiety and what I don't call it's professional learned helplessness. And you guys, you know what that means? I mean, I know you know what it means, but from mastery-oriented to learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, I'm not familiar. Do you mind explaining real quick?
Yeah, I will. But here's the thing, we're sort of conditioned, and this is kind of Carol Dweck's deal at Stanford, okay? Inner Book Mindset, which is really awesome. If you haven't read it, I really recommend it. But we sort of get conditioned in life that it's somebody else's fault, somebody else is in charge. It's the official, it's the coach, it's my mom, it's my dad, it's the weather, it's the whatever. It's not, it's you. But you sort of learn, you sort of learn. That's what you do. You learn that you're helpless versus the mastery-oriented person, okay? So when your gas tank is high, you're obviously I'm talking about confidence here a little bit, and you become mastery-oriented. And really the mastery-oriented person says, it's up to me. I got my hands on the steering wheel. I'm the person that's in charge, okay? So really we're trying to teach these people, all right, the optimistic, pessimistic view of when your tank is low. You understand what I'm saying there, Sean?
Yes.
Okay. So I add that on there because I think that's important. Okay. So, and again, I kind of answer these own questions because I'm the kind of guy when I'm listening, I don't want you to ask me a corny question that I already know the answer to. Okay. Just do I want $1 million or I don't want to go broke? Well, obviously I want $1 million. Okay. So, but again, what drains the tank? And I want to kind of get to this here in a second, but there's a lot of things that go into it, and I changed it a little bit in terms of my own style and what I believe in. And what I want to get into here is what drains the tank. Okay, and this is where again I'm trying to give you some stuff that I think is concrete, and I'm a guy that you can give me your opinion all you want. I want some science. I want some facts. I want some figures. That's me. Okay. But performance anxiety curve, again, have you guys seen this before?
No, go ahead.
I have not.
Okay. All right, this is really awesome, and I really believe in this, and I think the performance anxiety curve says, am I done?
You are, but I want you to keep going.
Yeah.
Because I can wrap it.
Now I'm buying you some more time. Go ahead.
Performance anxiety curve says this: as your arousal level goes up, your performance goes up. When it gets to the middle, you get what I call geeked out. Okay? So, give me a couple examples for you guys. When you get geeked out, when your anxiety level is high and your performance starts going down, what are the things that lead to your athletes doing that? What happens?
It's just fear. They're just full of fear and afraid that any mistake they make is just going to come back to them, and it's just playing in panic.
Right. And so they're afraid of making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Right. So let me ask you, not to put you on the spot, Sean, on the other side, okay? And this is where I'm all about the preparation, and I'm all about the process.
Agreed.
Okay? So Kelly talked about fear. Now let me ask you this. Let me tell you this. A couple things from my own experience. I coached a youth softball team, a girls team. We practiced for 2 weeks. Our first game, our girl got up to bat. She hit the ball, and she ran to third base. And she cried, and she quit, and she never played again. Okay? And I would also tell you this. I had a college player. We're playing Texas. They kicked the ball into the end zone. I got a player, picks up the ball, takes off running across the end zone. I'm like, what is he doing? Texas is chasing him. He tries valiantly to dive out of the end zone to get it out, but he doesn't, and it's a touchback. So he comes over. I'm like, what are you doing? He says, I don't know. And I said, just take a knee. And he goes, I don't know how to do that. And I said, just take a knee. And he goes, I've never done that. I said, what do you mean you've never done that? He goes, Coach, I don't know how to take. I said, well, I don't understand what you're telling me. And he had never taken a knee. He'd never practiced it. So we got all our college players on Sunday out there in practice to go, everybody take a knee. Right? But here's my point. Kelly was talking about fear and failing. Okay, so let's look at the other side there, Sean. So what's a way that you as a coach could prevent that?
This may be a little lengthy, but so I see this a lot in the weight room when it comes to, especially with soccer athletes who aren't your typical like heavy lifters, your typical meathead athletes like a football player may be. So something may come up. This happens all the time, and I'm working on it daily. Let's say I give them a big weight. They're doing a deadlift or they're doing a squat, and they see a really big weight. They may get very anxious, and they may think that's a lot of weight. I'm not going to be able to do it. And even if they could do it, their body shuts off and doesn't let them correctly perform the exercise. And so what I'll have them do is I'll have them stand there, and I'll have them look at it and think back to all the reps they've done in practice, all the warm-ups they've just done. Think about every little movement of the exercise and get it pictured in their head and get it certain in their minds that no matter how much the weight is, that movement's going to work out correctly, to completely try to get rid of all that anxiousness and then have them perform the workout rather than put the weights on, immediately get onto the bar and go.
Yeah. So again, it's all in the preparation. So here's part of my point with these youth coaches. How they practice and how they play is dramatically different. Practice is slow. It's lethargic. It's not quick. You're not at the same arousal level that you are in practice. So it's like you're practicing in a Volkswagen Bug and you get in an 18-wheel diesel on game day. It's totally different. And a lot of coaches mess that up. Okay? So you need to practice and you need to prepare emotionally, and all, like you said, all those situations that you're going to encounter, they need to see those, because when you get into a game, they need to be ultimately confident that they've covered all that. Classic example, my daughter played volleyball. She was a front row player. There was some politics on the team, which I let her work through. They get in the playoffs, and the coach inserts her in the back row, and the winning point goes off of her hands and hits the wall, and they lose in the state tournament. Whose fault is that?
The coaches?
Your daughters.
My daughter?
The
Why?
coaches.
Why is it the daughters?
I'm just saying ultimately it was her shot, so where the coach places her is out of her control. What's in her control is how she handled the shot.
Did she ever practice that shot?
I don't know all the information, but I'm going to assume the answer to that is no.
She did not. She did not. Okay? My response is, and again, I necessarily tell that to her, but to me, that's the coach. Don't put an athlete in a spot that they're not prepared for. They're going to have anxiety. They're going to have,
Right.
To me, that transfer of emotional state, but that anxiety, performance anxiety curve is huge. I'm going to hit on one more thing here. Now, I speak at a lot of clinics. I speak to major corporations, and I believe in this 1,000%. Okay, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm going to focus, just for time's sake, on these big four. Now, we talk about filling the emotional tank. It's funny, when I first talked to Ruben about this, again, we can sit around and say, be positive. We can say you're a motivator. We can say all those things, but what does that really mean? Well, Maslow said we're all capable of good things. If we're like a garden, we need water, we need fertilizer, we need sun, we need this stuff. Okay, and I just want to focus on the second level there about safety. This is some of the stuff we've talked about, right? If you as a coach and a player is not psychologically safe in your environment, they will not progress to the level we're talking about. So again, what would be something that would lead an athlete not to be psychologically safe in your program?
Being in positions with unknowns.
Right? Not prepared. Right? Again, like my daughter, who never practices in the back row, gets put in the back row in the state championship game. Right? She's not psychologically safe because her coach has put her in a bad spot. How about you, Kelly?
I'm just thinking if the player doesn't believe that the coach actually believes in them, then they're not going to feel they're not going to have that sense that they can actually accomplish anything.
Yeah, exactly. So being able to live through mistakes, we just talked about, how do we handle mistakes? Well, if mistakes, they're yanked out. If they make a mistake and they're yanked out of the game, if that's what happens, what do they immediately they go, I can't make a mistake. I have to play not to make a mistake, which is the worst way to play.
Hmm.
All right. Now I want you to think about you're not married, right, Sean?
No, I'm not.
You got somebody you work with.
Yes.
Okay, I always tell people to think about their spouse or think about their kid. And I want to talk about the big four. And I actually have had my coaches do this, really. So I want to find out, how can you give your athlete a sense of power, a sense of confidence, a sense of being needed, and a sense of being belonging? To me, that's motivation. To me, that's where you fill the emotional tank, when you really get in there and you have substance. Okay? So let's just talk about power here. Like, how do you think you guys could give somebody, an athlete, a sense of power?
I think by really coaching them for mastery and the fact that they are in control of their effort, how much they learn, and that can empower them because they have control over it.
Yeah. One of the things that I do when I'm coaching, when I coach football, it's funny, all the TV commentators, which I do, but, when it gets to be fourth down or a critical down and the quarterback comes over to me, the first thing I ask him is, what do you want to do? What do you want? What play do you want? Not what I want. What do you want? I give them an opportunity for that. Okay? We also have a sense of being needed. So, Sean, how can you make somebody feel like they're needed?
Give them an opportunity where whatever you're doing, whether it's a drill or some kind of partner work, can't happen unless they're there, and make sure that they make sure you paint that
Boom!
picture.
Right
and
on
have
the
them realize.
nose. That's awesome. Because what happens is, if a kid doesn't show up to practice and nobody misses them, and they show up to a game and nobody misses them, they've got no role.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was coaching at Boise, we had, if you know something about football, we had over 50 personnel groups. 50. Because if you could do something well and consistently, I'm going to get you in the game. But what normally happens is we say, well, Kelly, she's the starter, and you're the backup, and I'm the third team player. So you know what? I hope you get sick and miss the game, and I hope Kelly breaks her leg so I can play.
Yeah, I like that.
Because my coach hasn't realized, Kelly's a great rebounder, you're a good shooter, and I'm the best defensive player of all three of us. So why can't we have a role where my defense, and Kelly's rebounding and your shooting gets used? But they have to have a spot that people need them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then there's belonging. And belonging is a combination of all those things. But being included and people talking to them and texting them, and they're invited to the party and they get to go to the movie. And this, Kelly, you got daughters. I had daughters too. If there's something going on and the girl doesn't get invited, they're crushed. They feel like they're not part of the deal, even though somebody might have just forgot. They are. They're crushed. I learned this coaching girls too. I had a girl one time in a relay. We went to the state meet in junior college track, and my number one runner in the 4x1 didn't want to give it to the number 2 gal because she didn't like her. Had nothing to do with track. She didn't like her. Okay? And the other one, again, is being competent. We all want to be good at something. We all want to be recognized for what we do well. Okay, now I'm not going to ask you to do this. I know I'm running on, but I'm trying to give you some juice in your tank. I would encourage you, any significant people. Sean, you got a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm going to get you married right now. Seriously, I mean this, and I have our coaches do this. If you write down over here on the side the names of those significant people and then say, how do I give that person belonging, competency, needing, and power? Man, I'm telling you, the relationship and the emotional tank will blow up. I promise you, will blow up. And, like I said, I've got 4 kids. I've got 6 grandkids. I've coached kids from every single level. You know, I asked my 5-year-old girls, we got a game coming up, what color socks do you want to wear this week? You know, it's usually pink or purple, but all right, it's purple. Even though our colors are green and yellow, they're wearing purple socks. Right? That's big stuff. I throw these books up here again. I'm trying to fill your tank. I don't know if you guys are readers. I'm a big reader.
Yes.
I think these books are awesome. Flawless Execution. This is a Bill Walsh book. Pat Conroy's book is the greatest book on how not to coach, about when he played basketball at Citadel. I think Phil Jackson's Sacred Hoop is the great spiritual energizer. Buck is a horse trainer, which I always told people, I said, if I have a staff, I'm going to show that movie, and if you don't know what it's about, I'm going to fire you right there before we even start. And Perfect Practice, okay? And then I always kind of leave them with this, and I really believe this. I think when you coach, you got to ask yourself, why do you coach? Why are you coaching? For me, it's about making a positive difference, and I really believe that's about making a positive difference in somebody else's life. I just got two letters today, one from a kid in Australia, one from a kid I haven't seen in 20 years. But that's what it's about, you know, and of course we cover a lot of that stuff in the first part of the seminar, and then I always leave them with my contact information because invariably they want to get to me. So there's your 10-minute seminar in 20 minutes.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciated that. Now,
Yeah.
I wanted you to keep going because I wanted Sean to be able to see, you know, what it's like to kind of go off the script a little bit and have a little bit of your personality really show through. I think you guys are very different, so I think it was good. It was good for me, too. I always find myself, I go through this training course, this is my 8th time through it, and there are some of the most phenomenal coaches going through this course that are PCA trainers, and I spend half the time getting so wrapped up in what you're teaching that I'm taking notes, I'm stealing stuff left and right, and then I'm like, wait, now I have to give you feedback? Like, wait. I spent the whole time stealing all these great stories from you, so thank you for that.
Well,
I appreciate that.
That's part of why I did it, because I've been in your shoes before too, and when you got to hear the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Trying to
well,
put a little gas in
basically,
your tank.
what you did was take, you know, all 3 of the principles and wrap them up into one concept. We really, all of our principles, emotional tank, Elm Tree of Mastery, and honoring the game, they are all connected. And we separate them just for the sake of keeping it simple to the audience to make it more systematic. But what you just did there, talking about Carol Dweck and the coachability and the mastery, you put it under the umbrella of the emotional tank, which it all is. But you kind of just blended them all together. Coaching for mastery will fill a player's emotional tank, obviously. When a kid's emotional tank is filled, he's not going to spout off at the official. He's going to honor the game. So I think you're absolutely right. And interestingly, we are, and I think I told you guys this, we're in the process of renovating our Double Gold Coach 1 workshop. We're setting out a new rollout of this workshop coming up in April. And we are actually putting filling the emotional tank first as the #1 principle. We're switching the order around a little bit because we also feel that the emotional tank filling, the idea of positivity, the positive to negative ratio being so crucial, that if the coaches can get that concept down first, then the mastery focus and honoring the game just naturally flow below that. So it's interesting, Dan, that you did it that way. The other thing that I find really interesting too, and I think maybe you said it very well yourself, one of the things that we're adding into the new workshop is this idea. Now, Maslow said it as well, but it's also in a lot of different areas. We borrowed it also from Joe Ehrman, you know, him being our Lifetime Achievement Award winner a few years back. He talks about the needs of kids. And the needs of every kid is for someone to believe in them, having a purpose and a place to belong, which is right in line with, you know, Maslow. It's just a little bit more simplified into 3 steps. And so
I talked to Joe about that about 10 years ago.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
So that was your idea, and he stole it and put your name on it.
No, we all stole it from Maslow, but...
It is. It's the same thing. It is Maslow. But, again, we're trying to keep it simple for coaches to understand how their role as a coach in finding that belonging and someone to believe in the kids and giving them a purpose. Purpose is sort of power and competency worked in there as well. But we're putting that at the forefront of the workshop in getting coaches to think about the general needs, the inherent needs of kids. So we're adding that in as well. So I thought that was really interesting the way you brought that up. Personally, I really appreciate just your excitement, your enthusiasm, your energy. I mean, you're the kind of person that I want to listen to more. I didn't want to cut you off after 10 minutes because I wanted to hear what else you had to say. That is also because of your 30 plus years of experience. When you walk into a room, young coaches are going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's been there, he's done it all. I want to hear what you have to say. But you also say it with conviction, and you say it with energy, and that's great, right? That's a great asset to have. It's awesome. I also think one of the things, I just put down a couple notes that, from a PCA standpoint, I think that everything you're talking about is everything that we're talking about, and then plus. So I know that you do a lot of talks that aren't under the PCA umbrella. The one thing that is tough for me as well, and you, I'm sure, I have a master's in counseling, so a lot of this stuff goes right along with so many theories, and I try to give the audience so much information. And what I realize, especially in a very first double goal coach 1 workshop for a lot of youth coaches who haven't been coaching forever and ever, it's like information overload. Like their brains just explode because it's way too much. So I've had to learn over the years to just kind of be passionate where I need to be passionate, throw in some information when I need to, but I have been critiqued in saying you need to simplify things because I'm trying to give them, I'm trying to give them everything all at once because of all my experience and all the stuff I know. And so I think that's going to be, it's tough when we do have different workshops. We have leadership workshops. We have workshops where we're talking to just high school and college coaches. The specialty workshops are more where I dive in. But the basic double goal coach workshop, I think sometimes you get the coaches like glazed over, like, oh my gosh, this is so much information. It's really tough. So that was the one comment. The other thing, you said all the same things. Just to give you a couple terminology, one of the things we talk about are the entertainment industry of sports versus the development. We call it the development zone. But what you were talking about, like adults, the way adults talk to adults and kids, we call that the entertainment industry of sports and how that trickles down. The professional and the college level or trickling down to the way you coach 5-year-olds. So it's a completely different motivation in coaching versus development where the players are not expected to be perfect. They are just learning. So that was just a terminology I put down. And then the other one, and I love your picture because I always call it hands up. Are you a hands up or hands down coach when a mistake happens? When a mistake happens from your players, are you going like this with your hands up or are you going like this with your hands down?
Actually, I think that picture I put, I hate officials, so I was tired. I think I was doing that to the official, but I
right?
very seldom do that. I very seldom do that to players, but
yeah. But it's amazing how many coaches
like I said, I usually kind of just condition myself to. But I played for some great coaches, and I've been with some great coaches. But I try to be very non-emotional. Not intentionally. I'll get excited at times, but I think it's good. I even wrote down the guy's under control.
I even wrote down that you said, because you said this a couple times, I conditioned myself to clap, and that even of itself, every situation is not going to be clap worthy, but you've had to condition yourself to, all right, this is what I need to do. I need to do, inside, even if you're seething, you're like this. It's a condition. It's a conditioned response. It's a practice. It's not something we expect you all to do when you walk out of our workshops. So I even wrote that down. I like the way you said that. I conditioned myself. Anybody can do that, even if it's not how you're feeling necessarily inside. So yeah. I really did. I appreciated what you did.
Sometimes inside you're going, are you kidding me?
Yeah. My daughter had a first grade teacher, and he used to tell the kids, complain in your brain because I don't want to hear it. And I just always felt like that as a coach, like what a good, just complain in your brain and make your face do something good. But whatever you need to do, keep it inside. Sean, what did you think?
From coaching little kids, when you coach little kids, if they, first of all, I don't want them to look at me. I try to get them to just keep playing. But, if they look at you and you're doing this, then they're like, okay, we're good. Even though we have no idea what they're like, we're good. Okay, we're good. Let's go.
I'm sitting on third base. My coach is clapping. Woohoo, good job. Oh. My daughter ran to the third base the first time she played because she was left-handed. And she watched the right-handed people hit the ball right-handed and run to first base. She hit it left-handed and figured, I got to run that way. Because she didn't want to hit over the bat. So she wanted to run away from the bat. So she ran to third base. Made sense to me.
I know. Yeah, when people always tell me, they go, I bet coaching these 5-year-olds is a lot different than it. And I tell them it's really not. It really isn't. It's,
It's not at all.
Adults are just 5-year-old. They're just big 5-year-olds is what they are. So
Exactly.
And I tell high school coaches, I tell high school coaches that your kids would probably respond better if you coach them as if they were 5-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'd probably perform a lot better for you. Sean, what about some
really
feedback for
coaching,
Dan? What did you think about what he did?
Well, first of all, I feel like I need to revamp my entire presentation, so thank you for giving me a great example. But I really, really liked how you pointed out what people see. You had the pictures of the coaches yelling at the athletes, and you said a lot of times that's what you see, and so a lot of people think that's what you need to do. I really like that you pointed that out, because that really it paints a picture of, hey, that's not always the right thing to do. And I like that you really did. You took it. The principle of what you were saying was the same as what the PowerPoint that I went off of was. Like, all the underlying information was the same, but you took it off in a completely different format and in a completely different direction, and that really it really helped my knowledge. One, being from a selfish standpoint, of it really helped me understand a better way of viewing, not a better way of viewing, a different way of viewing it, and it helped me understand, hey, it's okay to really go off in all these different directions as long as you're bringing it back. And so I really appreciate you doing that. Thank you. It's not very much constructive criticism, but thank yous.
That's good. That's always good too. Let me just state like kind of a blanket statement. What Dan did with adding in his own pictures and his own slides, we don't encourage everybody to do that, because we've given a lot of new trainers the liberty to do that, and they go off on their own agenda, and it's not even close to what we have. So we say, you have to remember, if you want to be a Positive Coaching Alliance facilitator, you've got to stick to what the Positive Coaching Alliance is talking about, so that our workshops are consistent. That being said, Dan's also doing workshops for other organizations as well, so he's able to bring some things in. So it's always a fine line for me. I say change order of slides, add some pictures in, that's great. But if you're going to go off on a whole nother level, check with us first, because it could be totally way off. You could be thinking this is right in line. I've had people show videos before to Ruben and I the first time out, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with what we're even talking about. So I just always say just be cautious, especially in the beginning. Once we get to know you, we have trainers who have been doing this for 10 years, and they have some amazing stuff that they've added into the workshops. But we would love it if anything you have that you share would be for the good of the group, not just so it's like Sean and Dan going out doing their own thing. But if we have a resource folder for the trainers, and we have extra videos in there, and we have extra pictures, and we have great articles from the Development Zone website, and we encourage you, if it fits for your audience, use it. That's important. But we don't encourage you to necessarily just go rogue and head off in your own direction, if that makes sense.
I got 2 video clips you guys should have that you probably have seen, but have you seen the video clip from Bagger Vance where he's talking to about See the Field?
No. I've seen the movie, but I'm not sure which clip you're talking about.
See a field?
See the Field.
See the
like
field,
you could Google